In terms of the arts plan, so it is a statutory requirement that each local authority has an arts plan. So I suppose that's the starting point from that. But the way that we would go about devising our arts plan is the first thing that we need to do is to ensure that we're in line with national strategies and policies. So that's sort of the overreaching where we start from. But what's really important about the arts plan is that it is relevant and specific to each county area as well. So the way that we went about devising this particular one was we opened for submissions. We invited members of the public to make submissions, and they were able to do that in writing or through we had online submissions as well. So we received over 150 submissions, and what was great is that some of those submissions came in from groups as well. So while you might say it's only 150, some of them were, they were representing collectives, exactly. So that was really, really useful for us in terms of people's thinking about where they are now. Very conscious that we've come out of a really difficult time for the arts and for artists in particular, I suppose, coming out of COVID and all the changes that have arisen since then. And also very conscious about how much the public relied on the arts during that time to get them through. And this is something I think that is often overlooked, is just how much we actually draw from creativity and the arts. So in terms of our consultations, we also held public consultations where we went out and met members of the public and artists and arts groups and organisations all over the county. Actually, we had 5 different meetings, one in each of the local electoral areas, so it was then the feedback from all of those, both the negative and the positive, that we took then to shape the arts plan. I suppose, it was, for us, it was very heartening to see all the positivity towards the arts and how people value them and how people value creativity in general, and how much people value artists and artists living and working in their community, which is really, really important, I think, and the importance that people place on that. And working from that strong base then, we identified the key themes that were emerging, both from communities, from arts organisations and festivals, and from the artists themselves.
Great to see that positivity, but as you mentioned, it has been an unprecedented time for artists in the last, we'll say, 6-7 years. And I suppose with that in mind, looking at this arts plan and looking at the types of requests or proposals that were put to you, is there a change? Is there a noticeable shift? Because obviously this isn't your first arts plan. Are the types of points being raised any different perhaps 6, 7, 8 years ago?
They're probably not so much different as they're probably deeper, in that I think they're probably more nuanced than what has come up. So the key issues that have come up previously would have been access, would have been reaching people who wouldn't normally have an opportunity to either participate in the arts, be that as audience members or be that as creative people themselves. There certainly has been a shift in terms of people's understanding of creativity and people looking to become more creative themselves. So that participatory and getting actually involved in the arts, there definitely has been a shift in that. There is a strong sense as well of the importance of the arts out in more of the rural communities and how important they can be for transfixing those communities and where people live, and the opportunities that can bring out to our towns and villages throughout the county.
Not letting location be a barrier. Say traditionally maybe theatre, for example, might have been something more urban, something that you could only do in a larger town, and trying to make that not the case going forward.
Indeed. And sometimes that was just perception only, but in some cases then there was, the infrastructural issues as well. So certainly those types of things would have come up as well. But also then, I suppose, looking forward, there is some amount of anxiety around the likes of new technologies, digital media, the dreaded AI as people see it, and the positivities that can bring, but also the challenges. And I think that's particularly felt very deeply by artists of all art forms, be it musicians or visual artists or theatre makers or dancers, filmmakers, etc. So while there is loads to build on, there are certainly challenges ahead.
There was a mention of diversification yesterday and broadening Clare's arts identity beyond what it's famous for, the traditional arts. Is there a sense that perhaps there's been an overemphasis on the traditional arts when it comes to initiatives, funding, etc. in the past?
No, not in the least. And I think in the same sentence I had said it was about celebrating celebrating what we are renowned for as a county of culture, and traditional arts is so central to that. I suppose we were looking at diversification because when I say the arts, people normally go straight to visual arts or traditional music and dance. And it's just that it has expanded so much in terms of the actual activity on the ground in the county.
The talent and the interest is there, and you want the opportunities to follow as well.
Indeed. And just as technologies develop and art forms will develop as well, we've seen a huge uplift and interest in film in particular, and people being film artists both as producers and directors, but also in terms of the technical skills as well. So that is something that has very much come to the fore in the last decade in particular. But we also have a huge talent in terms of contemporary dance, in terms of young theatre makers, music across all genres, not just traditional arts. So while traditional arts will always be central to the arts in Clare, there's no moving away from that. It's a case of maybe you optimising that to lift all boats and all art forms as best we can.
Sighs of relief being breathed by West Wind listeners across the county.
There's no need. It's part and parcel of all of us traditional art. So that heartbeat will never be diminished.
Looking ahead at the next few years, are there particular projects that the Clare Arts Office will be working on that you're maybe especially excited about? I mean, in town here, there's lots of interest among the artistic community in the new Cloister building that Clare County Council is taking charge of, that the new centre that will be in place there. But are there, as I say, particular projects that are of interest to yourself?
Yeah, there's a lot kind of in the pipeline as such, waiting for things to land. So there's projects in terms of those sort of infrastructural projects that you have made, and that's a huge issue for artists, actually having places to physically make work or to create work, or to go in and just have quiet space where they can work from studios, etc. But in terms of programmes and projects, we have prioritised in the arts plan the areas of film, the areas of visual arts and the areas of traditional arts. So they're kind of going to be our key areas for development. But as I say, that's not to the detriment of others, because a lot of the time as well we work very much across art forms as well, because they don't operate in silos as such, and creative people love to cross art forms and work with other people. So yeah, there's lots in the pipeline. We're doing loads, right from Clare Youth Theatre through to the Bealtaine Festival for older people, and some of what we're looking to do is to consolidate those types of projects and to do them even better. But there will be new initiatives that we're bringing online as well, and part of that will arise. Some of those ideas and initiatives are going to arise from focus groups that we're planning to have with the various sectors as well, to get the ideas from the from the artists as to what it is they want to do.
Just to conclude, Siobhan, there was a question put to you by a South East Clare councillor yesterday in relation to his part of the county. He was asking, is there ever creative projects that are funded and supported by Clare County Council in his region? And your response, in fairness, was quite robust. But on that point, is that a challenge or a concern or perhaps a priority, we'll say, in this plan going forward for the next couple of years to try and do that, as is often said in different contexts at Clare County Council level, balance regional development, to try and balance the support across the county? Yes,
we have given a commitment within the Arts Plan to try and support and encourage as much creative activity outside of the main towns as possible. In that particular area in South East Clare, we were delighted to be able to mention that we work very closely with the schools down there. We support organisations who are in a lot of the schools down there, and we'd also support the work of the Irish Aerial Creation Centre, and we have the Creative Places Shannon programme, which is up and running as well. So each area of this county, as you know, Sean, it's very different and almost different personalities in terms of how you would describe each particular area. So we would work very closely with communities in each area to find out what's most relevant to them and to support them in the activities that they would like to see in those areas. And we hope to continue to doing so.